Blade Runner 2049 is an unusual film by modern standards. It is too slow, with long pauses in dialogue. Events develop gradually, unhurriedly, and it is unlikely that there is a viewer who will get confused in the plot and fall behind the narrative. This one of the few sequels that preserved the spirit and idea of the original source. Both the novel by Philip Dick and the 1982 film Blade Runner 2049 continues to reveal the themes and ideas raised in the previous film, complements them. What does it mean to be human? What is the soul and who can have it? Our hero is an artificial person surrounded by an artificial world. He has artificial memories, even his girlfriend is a consumer product. Our hero hunts the same artificial people, only older models. There is absolutely nothing real in the life of Agent K. Sometimes it seems that he is actually an inanimate object. He himself has no idea what a soul is. K puts himself and others like him an order of magnitude lower than an ordinary person, speaks of himself as a thing, a parody of life, a doll without a soul. The only purpose of his existence is to follow orders. He does not do anything else. He does not draw, does not write poetry, does not listen to music. He is completely satisfied with the lack of a name. K is just the first letter in his serial number. He is a real biomachine, whose vocation is to send other biomachines into retirement. And he is really good at his job. A true professional. K performs all his duties quickly, efficiently, and without unnecessary questions. But K does not like his job. K secretly envies people. He also wants to have a soul, and he dreams that one day the moment will come and he will be told that he is real. This is his most cherished desire, but he is honest with himself and distinguishes dreams from reality. He is not a man, he is a thing, and nothing can be done about it. It seems that on the whole he is right. An outside observer will not notice the difference between a man and a replicant, but neither man nor replicants consider themselves to be of the same species. People despise replicants, and the only reason for this disdain is their origin. People are those who are born from a mother. Replicants are those who were grown in a test tube with altered genes. A conditional line drawn on just one feature. Apart from this, a man is no different from a replicant. Moreover, a replicant, if we judge by character, is superior to a man in many ways. Replicants don't know envy, craving for other people's property. They don't conflict in vain. They are characterized by courage and mutual assistance. We can say that a replicant is better than a person, more human than a person. However, what does humanism mean? Humanism, to paraphrase, is an ethical life position that places human life and freedom as the fundamental value of society. And in this, replicants are superior to humans, then value human life more than people themselves. An artificial person is more human than a real person. This sense contains all the irony of the film. It would seem that this is the answer that the main character gives us. Replicants have surpassed humans in everything. They are the next stage of evolution. Perfect, flawless, free from vices and prejudices. But then, the film talks about something even more complex: the meaning of life. Replicants don't have it. They simply exist. They have the memory that humans have created of them, and the dreams that humans have created for them. They have no imagination, no active life position, values, or beliefs. They are just a calculator that has developed to the point of being able to parody humans, and in this they are inferior to humans. After all, even the very last person who has sunk to the very bottom always has a meaning in life. Hedonism, communication, self-realization. The meaning of life is what makes a person human. It seems that the competition is lost. A replicant will never compare with a human. But that's not the end. Replicants are not capable of experiencing complex emotions. They must be cold and calculating. Every replicant in service has a book. Vladimir Nabokov's novel Pale Fire. For artificial people, it should mean nothing, should not evoke any emotions. Pay attention to the test. Emotional stability test. It looks like this. The subject is placed in a small room and asked questions, trying to elicit an emotional reaction. A police officer, whom we don't see, sits in a room behind the wall and watches the subject. He measures the state of his pupil's body position, pauses in answers, and other characteristics. If the replicant does not show emotions, then he is allowed to continue working. A replicant should not experience emotions in order to effectively perform his work. Therefore, people put pressure on them, convince them that they are not alive. Replicants are like in a cage, and they are quite happy with it. They feel nothing when they say lines from the book because they are convinced of their inanimateness. They consider themselves dead inside. The test uses the strongest quotes from the novel attempt to evoke an emotional reaction. In some places, they are even slightly paraphrased for greater effect. The replicants quote Nabokov in their test. They know this novel by heart. But later it turns out that the hero of the film, K, begins to follow in the footsteps of the hero of the novel due to a simple coincidence. This book was not chosen by chance for the replicants. It's about a person looking for a meaning of life. Therefore, it will not affect the correct, insensitive replicant, but will only affect the one who began to doubt and look for the meaning of life. The hero of the novel, Pale Fire, John Shade, is like a shadow, dead inside after the death of his daughter. At one point in his life, John has a heart attack. He experiences clinical death and sees a mysterious image of a white fountain. He takes it for an image of the afterlife and begins to chase it. It becomes incredibly important for him to understand what this vision was, what it means. Then it turns out that another person besides him experienced the same thing. John stumbles upon an article in a printed publication about a woman who saw the same vision. John begins to investigate, but then it turns out that there was a typo in the images. The woman saw not a fountain, but a mountain. It turns out that the meaning of life that John Shade was so stubbornly chasing after does not actually exist. There is no higher purpose in his existence. It's all due to coincidence, a stupid mistake. But on the way home, John Shade understands that there is no end, cannot be a strictly defined meaning of life. And there is no reason to look for it either in visions or in anything earthly. The meaning of life is what he chooses for himself. No one can point it out to him. Imagine the thoughts of Kay, who, knowing the poem from Nabokov's novel by heart, lived the same experience. He convinced himself that he was not a replicant, but a real person, born naturally. He was looking for confirmation that he was human. He sincerely hoped that he was human. He wanted to feel what it meant to have a soul. And just like John Shade's hopes, his hopes were dashed. He realized that he was just a replicant, created like millions of others. He did not have a soul. And then, just like John Shade, Kay realizes that it is not his origin that determines whether he has a soul, but who he thinks he is. It turns out that Kay is capable of empathy, able to feel his emotions, not an imitation, like his artificial girlfriend. Joe realizes that he always had a soul, that is a person is someone who thinks he is a human. So Kay fails the stability test. The first time, Kay faces it without problems, because he considers himself only an imitation of life. The replicants quote Nabokov every day so that people can see that the replicants don't recognize themselves in the hero of the novel. The quoted lines acquire meaning, for John Shade always had what he was looking for, and Joe Kay has always had a soul too. Let's remember how on the way home Kay sees a huge hologram of joy. He sees what he recently considered real. The hologram gives him the same name as his own joy. This is just her program. If at the beginning of the film Kay and Joy are shown to be close, then at the end the difference between them is emphasized. Kay no longer feels anything towards her. He knows that she is a fake, meaninglessly repeating to her master what he wants to hear. Kay decides to go to help Descartes, knowing that he will certainly die in the process. He gets a fatal wound, and dying from blood loss, he is happy. Kay has decided to become a human. Only he can determine whether he has a soul or not. And he makes a conscious choice. A replicant created in a lab dies a human. The film ends with a very strong symbol, drawing a parallel between Kay and his DNA sister Anna. Kay is her clone, has the same memories as she does. That is the same basic experience. Anna was born naturally, but cannot experience anything real. And K exists, and she does not. No one can tell us who we are. Only we determine it. After all, it is extremely easy to succumb to pressure and take the right place. It is much more difficult to choose it yourself. So this episode has come to an end. If you liked the episode, give it a like, write comments, and click the bell to be the first to know about the next episodes.